Decision 2024, our nightly political coverage continues tonight with word that the American Civil Liberties Union of Iowa today announcing a new lawsuit to stop efforts to prevent those previously self-reported non-U.S. citizens from voting in Iowa. Now, this comes, of course, after last week's directive, which came from the Office of Secretary of State Paul Pate, requiring about 2,000 registered voters to, at least for now, have to vote provisionally in our state. So with that in mind, let's go live right now to KWWO reporter David Warrington live in the studio with the very latest on the lawsuit from the ACLU and also a response tonight, I understand, from Secretary of State Paul Pate himself.
Well, that's right. And Ron, of course, we follow this very closely. Big story as the election comes ever closer. And this lawsuit was filed on behalf of 4 United States citizens whose right to vote is being challenged. And for his part, Secretary Pate argues the federal government is not allowing access to a list of legal residents that are not U.S. citizens, causing confusion for some legal voters with just a matter of days remaining before the election. The ACLU of Iowa, alongside the national ACLU and the law firm Faegre Drinker, are suing to allow the 2,000 previously reported non-U.S. citizens to vote without having to use a provisional ballot. Rita Bettis-Austin takes issue with several parts of Secretary Pate's directive, including the fact that many of the 2,000 plus don't know they're on the list.
Some counties have provided the list as public information, but most are not. And there was a direction from the Secretary of State to county auditors telling them not to share the information.
Secretary Pate argues that his options are limited due to the federal government not providing a list of legal non-citizens.
We are forced to have to work with the information we have available because the federal government has tied my hands, and we cannot do a redo on an election. I mean, literally, the election day is Tuesday, and what we have to do is try to come up with a balance on how do we encourage participation, but also have integrity.
The ACLU of Iowa argues that the data for the list is out of date, coming from old driving records. Dyke William is from Wales and has become a U.S. citizen. He explained the challenges he's facing.
Because Secretary Pate is relying on old data, I'm having to cast a provisional ballot and go through the time-consuming extra steps in order to exercise my new right to vote as a citizen.
Secretary Pate says that all of the confusion could be avoided if he got more assistance from the federal government.
If the folks in Washington, D.C. would cooperate and let us have what I don't understand is the big secret, is a list of non-citizens who are here. These are legal non-citizens who are here, so that we can check against our database. This would be a moot point.
And Johnson County just this afternoon has reported that 63 people on the list of non-citizen voters are in fact U.S. citizens. And while they are referring one other person to law enforcement for additional clarification, 232 people have yet to have their status confirmed. Ron?
All right, David, thanks for the update tonight. By the way, Johnson County also sharing with us today, they had one citizen come into their office with naturalization papers in hand, as well as a letter from U.S. Senator Joni Ernst from 7 years ago, proving that they had the right to vote by being a citizen. They did not understand how this could happen so many years later.